Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Have you been wondering what canned foods last the longest? What are the canned foods with the longest shelf life? First of all, when you're shopping for foods in the store, look them over, make sure there's no dents. Then you want to look for the date. It's a best by, use by, sell by date, not necessarily an expiration date. You want to find the dates that are the farthest out there. The stores are supposed to do the first in, first out. They're supposed to push the old stock forward and put the new stock behind it, so when you're shopping, take a peek into the back of the shelf and see if you can find foods that have a later date. It isn't always possible, and sometimes we don't have very many choices anymore, that when we go to the store there may only be 2 or 3 cans on the front of the shelf, and that's the only options that we have. But if the farther out that the date is, the longer your foods are going to last. Those dates are guaranteed to be the best top quality by the manufacturer. So what happens when you bring foods home? You should do the same thing they do in the store. Push the old food to the front and put your new purchases behind them so that you're also rotating your foods. But you need to keep track of them because they don't always last long past the best by, use by, sell by date. A lot of foods will last longer, but not always. The canned foods that I've had the most problem with are fruits. They just don't have the staying power of other foods. I've had them leak, I've had them explode, I've had them taste just terrible. And so I try to make sure that I rotate the fruits as close to that date as possible. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes things get pushed to the back, and what can happen is you'll open the food and it may still look okay, but maybe it's turned mushy and it doesn't have the full flavor that it used to. But if there's anything, any doubt at all, anything that's leaking, anything that looks suspicious, you need to throw that food away. Don't take a chance of getting sick trying to get every last penny's worth of value out of your food storage. The next foods that I like to store are the vegetables. And vegetables can last longer. I've not had those be leaking like I have the fruit, but I have opened them long past their date and they weren't really very good anymore. I had green beans that looked blue, and things have just, they lose their texture, they lose their consistency, they just get old. And so while they in an emergency, you may want to eat that if it's your choice. During these better times when we can have new, fresher food, it isn't worth it to let the food just become expired and because you don't care to eat it. You should be stockpiling foods that you want to eat and try to keep track of them and then rotate them as close to that date as possible, or within a year or 2 or 3. The next category would be your canned beans, and these are single ingredients. Maybe they have a little salt in them, but that's it. They're just beans. And I have had wonderful luck with the canned beans storing for years. We know that we can store dried beans to last for years and years, but when we want to make dinner, we don't necessarily want to start soaking and cooking dried beans. And that's why it's so nice to have canned beans in a lot of different varieties. Beans are nutritious, they're filling, and it's an easy way to bulk up a meal, stretch it out, help it go farther. They're inexpensive, so it's nice to be able to have canned beans in your prepper pantry. I like to figure that a pound of dried beans is about equal to 3 cans of prepared beans. That might help you gauge how many pounds of beans and how many cans of beans that you want for your particular recipes when you're planning what you can make with your prepper pantry. Tomatoes, like beans, are very versatile and they're great to have. I've read that people said that their tomatoes just don't last as long as other foods, that they're more like fruit. I have never had tomatoes that exploded, leaked, became rotten. I've always had great luck storing the tomato products longer than the date on the package. The next category would be your already prepared, ready-to-eat meals. Chili, soup, beefaroni, ravioli, chicken and dumplings, beef stew. Foods that you can find in a can that are designed to open and eat, be ready to go, and they can keep for quite a long time. I've eaten them many years past the date on the package. In fact, chili was one of the things that I had lots and lots of, and I stored a big bin of it in an out-of-the-way place, and I nearly forgot about it. So then when it came time to be cleaning up, clearing out, rotating, oh, there was all that chili. But guess what? All of it was still fine. My son says that Hormel chili is the best prepper pantry food because it never expires. It's always good, and you can open and eat it right out of the can if you need to, that it's going to be fine. I've had wonderful luck with long-lasting cans of manwich and sausage gravy. I've used them past the date and they were absolutely fine. The category of canned foods that I've never had a problem with at all, canned meats. Canned meats just last and last. I recently opened some 2013 tuna and it was just as good as tuna that I bought at the store yesterday. So don't fret so much if you find foods that are out of date. Don't be afraid to inspect them. Look them over. If the can looks good, open it up. If it spurts, throw it away. If it gives off a foul odor, throw it away. But if it still seems fine, see if the contents have lost their consistency. Does it still look like the food you were expecting? And then if you still feel confident that it looks fine, go ahead and taste it. You can always still throw it away. But if you have any doubts, just pitch it. It isn't worth saving it. What cans of food actually last the longest? The cans of freeze-dried foods that are professionally packaged to last for up to 30 years. I've made it a priority to stock up on the freeze-dried fruits and vegetables and other foods that you can buy already sealed in a number 10 can. I ordered them from the LDS Church. They have a wide variety, all kinds of dried foods that you can buy in number 10 cans. I buy the apples, the beans, the rice, flour, oatmeal. I'm lucky enough that I can find the Augustin Farms sometimes in my local Walmart here in Alaska. So when I do find them, I will pick up things like pancake mix, biscuit mix, tomato powder, vegetable stew blend, peas, carrots. You can also order them from Amazon, and I recently found that they were less expensive to order on Amazon than they were to pick up in the store. But you need to pay attention because not all of them will last the very longest. The peanut butter powder actually only has a 5-year shelf life guaranteed from Augustin Farms. I expect it would probably last longer, so I'm willing to add it to my food storage stockpile. I'm looking over the foods that I normally eat and looking for them in the longest lasting format that I can put some of these away and not have all of the constant worry. Did I rotate it enough? Did I make sure that I replaced it? And then there may come a day when we can't replace the foods that are in our pantry and we need to go to our longest term, long-term food storage, our buckets of beans, rice, oatmeal, grains, and the number 10 cans of food. Mountain House also has some wonderful, flavorful foods that are in the number 10 cans along with the little packets. And the Mountain House foods all can last for 25 years also. Not all of those backpacking type meals can last as long as Mountain House, so you definitely want to look for the dates on those. Sometimes you go along and you think, oh, this one looks good and that one looks delicious. If you're taking them on a camp out, that doesn't matter, but if you're putting them into your emergency stockpile, it does matter because you want the food that's going to last the longest. If you're making an investment in long term, you want the foods to be able to last as long as possible. So whatever foods you enjoy eating, get extras of them now. Food is still readily available. The prices are going up and we are finding shortages in the store, but it's not too late to have the things that you want. The whole point of prepping is lifestyle insurance, making sure that you have the things you want no matter what the future brings. You're ensuring that you have what you need to make the best of every single day that you have. If you enjoyed my video, I hope you'll share it with someone else you think might like it. Please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.